Hi everyone. When I was thinking about doing this event, the bump that came out in these sort of folders said that you're here to build your strategy, to wow your customers and to drive profit. So I thought, let's talk about that. This morning, I've been going through the sponsor pack. So this is all the information that you have provided to the exchange team about what you're actually interested in. So for our sales guys, so we've got a couple of people here. So Simon's standing over there by the door, skulking. This is great because we already know what you're interested in. So what I want to talk about is the realities of actually making this work in practice. And we'll deal with this later. RPA, robotic process automation, and customer experience are coming together. The reason for that is that RPA is really good at dealing with the structured data, rules-based activities that tended to sit, at least in the start, when RPA first came out, in your corporate functions, finance and accounting, procurement, HR. Tended to be the things that you had previously outsourced or set up your shared service operations to run. However, customer experience, dealing with your consumers, with your customers, and if you're public sector, with your citizens, is something that's really coming up. The question is how. This is an old slide deck. Yeah. I think this is the old one. Doesn't matter. How does this work in practice? What we have exhibited, what we've seen, is a hockey stick growth in the adoption of robotic process automation. So RPA started in about 2002, it wasn't called RPA then, with one of our competitors, an organization called Blue Prism. Then Automation Anywhere came into the market, and about 2013, 2014, UiPath, which is the company that I work for, came into the market. And we focused on automating those back office operational tasks. But UiPath also has front office robots. So those are the agent augmentation. So they're triggered by human activity rather than batch processing, which goes on in a lot of your back office operations. And that 1,000% is what we grew last year. So that gives you an indication. In fact, our annual recurring revenue, and I know this because we just got the data, because our year end was the 31st of December, our year end growth was 836% ARR, so that's annual recurring revenue, so that's the sticky stuff of customers continue to buy your product, so it's good. And looking through the information, half of you in this room are already customers of ours, which is pretty good, so thank you. I was at an AI event a couple of weeks ago, and Ash Booth from HSBC was talking, and he came out with a great quote. He said that CX, customer experience and customer retention, is key to business success. And he's right. So if you look at the way that RPA in the back office operations have worked, then it reduces cost. And by the way, it reduces cost, it does not reduce the number of people in your operation. We found time after time that all those horror stories you read in the press about how RPA is going to mean the loss of millions of jobs isn't true. What most of our customers and some of the people in this room have found is that actually what happens is that the people that are doing monkey jobs are not monkeys. The value of the human resources in your organizations is much, much higher than you think it is. And as soon as you automate the shitty jobs that they've been doing, manually moving information through and between systems, you realize that. And so in most organizations, that has actually meant the value of the people is actually being recognized. But in terms of CX and customer experience, if you've got back office robots that reduce cost and increase efficiency over time, and you've got front office robots that deal with, as Jared mentioned, deal with the CX, deal with the customer experience, so that when the customer calls in, by the time they've gone through security, you already know exactly what they've bought, what their claims history is if you're an insurance business, what every product that they've bought if you're a bank, so check account and savings account and credit card and insurance or whatever it might be. So you've already got all that by the time they get through. Your agents are massively improve their customer experience because the robots will go off and drag all that information out of the multiple different systems that normally they'd have to toggle between or pass, as Jared said, between different departments. And they go, who are you again? So you avoid that. So you end up with a double delta benefit. A double delta benefit. Increased value, increased efficiency, decreased cost in the back office, unattended operations, increased value, increased revenues, the ability to on-sell and upsell, and reduce churn in the front office operations. And that's quite compelling argument for using this stuff. But RPA can't do it on its own. So RPA is really good, as I mentioned, at dealing with the structured data, really good at dealing with the rules-based activities. It doesn't matter how complex those rules are. And by the way, the different vendors talk about robots in a different thing. It's bloody confusing. The sooner they get rid of the word robot, the happier I'll be, actually. But a robot license for us means that you can run multiple processes sequentially, not concurrently yet, it's coming, sequentially. So you can do accounts payable in the morning, accounts receivable in the afternoon, HR batch processing overnight, and you can do your CX activity while those are actually working in the background using the attended robots. But RPA needs intelligence. RPA is essentially stupid, and we like it that way. So you need that intelligence, those AI elements built into the platform in order to deal with the semi-structured data and the unstructured data. So 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years. 80% of that is unstructured. So unless you're dealing with that within your organizations, and it's all in there, you're all talking about what the hell do you do with the data, and a lot of that data you can't get at because it's not structured, then that's where the AI comes in. I got famous last year for saying two things. First one was outsourcing is dead. It's not, it's changing. The second thing I got famous for was saying AI is bollocks. Because AI, as we understand it, as the HAL and the iRobot and the Terminator stuff that you see whenever anyone talks about robots. You never see a robot. You never, ever see a robot on my presentations. All of that stuff is predicated on the fact that it's artificial general intelligence. And we are, if you think to a couple of weeks ago, Ray Kurzweil, who came up with the idea of the singularity of artificial general intelligence, he now predicts it will be in 2029. Which is a lot earlier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be about 2040, but he knows more than I do. So AI, in your terms, is those tools that allow you to deal with the semi and unstructured data. It's that simple. And there are lots of them. So UiPath sits in the middle there. So that's quite a complex slide, and I don't really like complex slides, so let's keep things simple. Think about UiPath and the other RPA vendors, particularly UiPath actually, as a jam sandwich. Okay, so UiPath is the jam in the middle of the sandwich. The bottom slice of bread are those organizations that provide those cognitive and AI tools. I'll give you some examples. So we've got Abby, which is an intelligent OCR business. So they'll deal with, let's say, invoicing. So invoices, there's only one organization in the world that actually mandates their entire supply chain use the same invoice, and that's Walmart. It's one of our big customers in America. The rest of the world, you lot, get your multiple invoices in multiple different formats. That's semi-structured data. It's all there, but it's in different positions. So you need to OCR that and either manually rekey it, or you can use something like Abby, that's A-B-B-Y-Y, by the way, to actually turn that semi-structured data into structured data that the robots can then handle. Another example is Celonis. So Celonis is process mining. So process mining, it figures out what your humans, what your people are actually doing, as opposed to what they say they're doing, or what's in your documentation, or what's in your standard operating procedure, because it's never the same. So early adoptions of RPA fell over because what actually happened was not what people said they were doing, because they cheated. They found workarounds, they found easy ways of doing things. Quite right, that's what we're really good at as humans. So Celonis actually figures out what's actually happening with your workflow, as opposed to what people say it happens. And then the reason that we're baking that into our platform is easy, because we want to build self-building robots. So we want, ultimately, at the moment you have to use a bit of software called Studio, which is the bit of software that actually develops the robot to record the activities of your users. ultimately, Celonis will sit there, watch what the person does, okay, and then it will flag up to the system, okay, I can automate this process now. And that's towards the end of this year, beginning of next. Another example is Humly. So we talked about chatbots. We talked about Alexa and Siri and Cortana. They're really rubbish when it comes to the industry or specific ontologies, as they're known. It's the language that you use within your processes and within your industries that is specific to that. So if you're sitting in a bank and you say, okay, robot, stick that in the Wells account, it has to know that you're talking about Wells Fargo. You're not talking about a hole in the ground with water at the bottom or a town in Somerset, because they're all Wells. So that's what Humly's working on. So ultimately, again, we're looking at controlling the robots by voice. Okay, robot, if you see that, stick it in the Wells account, as an example. And there are numerous others. So that's the bottom slice of bread. Top slice of bread are the big independent software vendors. That's the Oracles, the SAPs, the Workdays, the Salesforces. We did a deal with Oracle in back end of last year, September, October last year, whereby UiPath robots are now built into Oracle's cloud business, or they're being built into Oracle's cloud business. What that means is that anyone that buys Oracle, great for the US, not so good for Europe, already has the robots there. They're already pre-configured. All you need to do is switch them on. Great for us as a small software business, because it's all about scale. We have 40 salespeople, they've got 40,000. However, I was talking to an analyst at Forrester called Jay McBain, who does a lot of work on channels. And I said, well, why did they do the deal with us? Because we're just a small little business. He said, it's because you represent a shadow channel for them. And what he meant by that was that because we operate across all geographies, and I'll come to geographies in a minute, across all industries, but particularly within BFSI, 45% of our business comes from you lot, and across all service lines within those industries, and importantly, we sell to you, operations people, not to IT, then it offers Oracle and the other big software houses a completely new route to market. So you'll start to see those type of deals coming this year as well. So you think about that jam sandwich, that's probably the easiest way of describing that. Beginning of last year, this comes from HFS, Horses for Sources. HFS were talking about it being continuum. So you start with RPA, and then you go to cognitive, and then you go to AI. And once you've got cognitive and AI, you can throw away your robots. You can throw away your robots, but actually, I said that was rubbish, and actually what it is a continuum, is a Venn diagram, and so they've changed it. So if you've got, you won't be able to see that because it's really small, but if you see the combination of RPA, smart analytics, which a lot of you were talking about in what you need to do with your data, and artificial intelligence, then combining all of those things together in the next 12 to 15 to 18 months, combining all those things together, it makes a real difference and will make a real difference commercially to your organization. And by the way, I'll be sharing these slides so you'll be able to actually read the writing. Should be able to read that. So Melanie Warwick at Google at this same AI Congress event said that automation is not the destination. Automation, AI, all of these things are just tools. They're just tools in your toolkit. They're not special. They're not magical. Forget about all the marketing rubbish that you've heard. It's all about the return on investment. And as I mentioned, if you've got unattended robots, then you're decreasing cost and increasing efficiency. If you've got attended robots, you're increasing the value to your customers or your citizens if you're a public sector body. All about return on investment. And the return on investments are really, really good for RPA. That's not me saying that. The reason that I am saying it is because what we're seeing is the large consulting organizations, the Deloittes, the PwCs, the EYs, KPMGs and so on, are training up their people as fast as they possibly can on RPA. Why? It's not because of the 9 times the revenue they make from implementing RPA than we make for the licenses, which I thought was great. It's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. What it does, it allows them, if they're implementing RPA in your organizations, for them to impress the hell out of your boards, and for them to say, now we've proved that we can do this with RPA, this is the first step on that route to digital transformation, which you're all talking about in the documentation you sent in. The first step on digital transformation is RPA. That's why the consultancies are investing so much time and effort in training up their people. And in fact, in EY's case, they're training up all of their consultants and all of their risk advisory people in the US on our platform. So what's possible? This was the largest RPA implementation in the world. It's now the second largest. It's the Sumomoto Banking Corporation in Japan. So that, you can read that, I don't need to read it out. What's interesting about the Japanese market, from one of the questions that came up from one of the first sessions was, is the UK different? And actually, geographies are different. So Europe is all about slow, steady growth. It's growing, but it's slow and steady growth. As organizations start within their shared service operations, RPA, and then expand out throughout their business into industry-specific processing, like claims processing, securities processing, fund administration, investment banks, and so on. In the US, it's all about doing hackathons to identify which technology they want to do very fast, then scaling out really fast. So our biggest customers changed 7 times, soon to be 8 times, in the last 4 months. The majority of those are in the US. The 2 biggest are in Japan. Japan's population peaked in 2010. So the Japanese population is actually falling now. And we all heard about the baby boomers all retiring. The amount of work that the Japanese workers do is measured as being dangerous when they work more than 106 hours a week. No. That's 106 hours a week in addition to the 60 hours a week that everyone normally works. That is just scary. And actually, there is a word in Japanese to work one's after death. And so SMBC and Dentsu, which is the biggest one at the moment, Dentsu actually had a lady in their organization commit suicide because of the amount of work she was doing. 166 hours of work a week. They have to automate. They have no choice. You have a choice. They don't have a choice. So that's why we're seeing this. They're going to save $1 billion using RPA. As I said, monkeys are not monkeys. The people doing that work are not using RPA to eliminate themselves. They're doing it so that they end up with a better opportunity. Now, if you think about it, if you look at the investment community, they think that, and this is the private equity guys, they think that RPA is going to be a $100 billion revenue operation over the next few years. Think about SAP and Oracle and the ERP rise in the 90s. It will be same for intelligent automation. So we collectively, so Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism Us, we're now looking at societal change as a result of using automation, as opposed to making shitloads of money, although that helps. And this is the sort of scales we're talking about. $1 trillion worth of transactions going through machine learning. I'll skip over that. I love that. Sometimes, the machines are not very good at identifying the difference, but humans aren't much better. Spot the chihuahua. GDPR, a lot of it came up in there. GDPR is a great example. So this wasn't driven by us. This was someone in a French bank, one of our customers, said, why don't I just reconfigure the robots to actually meet my regulatory requirements in terms of know your customer and anti-money laundering, so KYC and AML, and in fact GDPR, because the robots can go into the multiple different systems and provide the regulator with the answer. And that's what they've done. And actually, we are now creating a solution called, it's not I call it GDPR in a box. It will have a nice name eventually. But the deadline, 25th of May, is looming. So most organizations, I'm sure you're all well organized, but most organizations haven't even started yet, and it's going to be a problem. I'll skip over that. So this is again, this slide is a bit wordy. This is our roadmap. So it's combining big scale with security, with path to AI, with ease of use, with ecosystems. You can look at it at your leisure. But essentially it's combining all of those elements together. So I'll finish with a little video, hopefully it'll work, about what our customers actually think. RPA is the latest, most powerful and cost-efficient solution to automate the bulk of repetitive, time-consuming business tasks.
create a workflow that will automatically upload contacts from the CSV file.
It works to input data from an invoice into SAP.
To create an automation that will extract the titles, links, and prices of
Passing variables between actions and if-else decisions.
RPA is a game changer for us.
It's driven a significant amount of cost reduction. We've seen quality and compliance, profit improvement, all reasons why RPA has been such a disruptor.
We were getting more and more pressure where they wanted us to go in and do more with less. They kept coming to us and saying, you need to do this cheaper.
But it was not a cost play. It was more around quality, speed of doing business, compliance.
RPA allowed us to go in and automate some of those tasks that we do for them and do it in a more timely manner and do it with less internal resources.
We found that we can grow those economies of scale. We're able to tackle projects that are much more complex than what they were able to look at before.
It's changing how we do business, helping us shape how we operate.
Why did we choose UiPath?
First of all, their technology stack is pretty exciting. The training and the certification process was easy.
Because of the fact that they are a very open type of company.
I think they're very collaborative.
It's very important that you get a vendor you can trust.
UiPath's ability to continue to add capability to the product, to go from really robotic process automation to cognitive automation, and why we've seen such an uptick in its use really across the industry.
But as UiPath move forward and they start to put AI in to where they're reading every record that you touch and the system begins to understand what it's doing, you know, at that point it's game changing.
I know that was self-serving, but it was a good video. My role is, I used to be COO when we were 30 people in one country. Now we are 540 people across 15 countries. My role changed in June of last year to a role I absolutely love. If anyone knows Guy Kawasaki, who was the chief evangelist of Apple, he was basically the one that said, you know, why should you choose Mac over PC? And he said, you want to find the agnostics, you don't want to find the zealots. So if people are using other technology, let them use the other technology, but you want to find the people who are interested in finding out more. So that's what I'm doing. I'm Chief Evangelist of UiPath. And that role is important because not only am I doing what I'm doing now, which is presenting and talking out from the organization, I'm also collecting a load of data and collecting that and bringing it back into the organization, into the product teams and the marketing teams and the sales teams. So if there are any questions, Rory, who's standing in the back, stand up, Rory. Stand up. That's Rory. And the team are here. So we've got a little booth thing next door. So enjoy your lunch, but if anyone has any questions, you can follow me on Twitter and email me, and I will answer any questions you've got. But thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Guy. Any questions for Guy?